locals called it the Hollow Grove, a stretch of woods shrouded in uneasy legends. They whispered of a restless spirit that wandered between the ancient pines, a ghostly figure said to lure wanderers off the path. No one dared venture there after sunset, but Lila didn't believe in ghost stories. An amateur photographer chasing the perfect shot, Lila was drawn to the grove's eerie beauty. Its reputation as a haunted place was just an added thrill, a theme to weave into her portfolio. On a crisp autumn evening, she set out with her camera, determined to prove there was nothing to fear. As she entered, the air grew unnaturally cold. Her boots crunched on brittle leaves, the sound unnervingly loud in the heavy silence. There was no birds, no rustling branches, only the occasional whistle of the wind that felt more like a sigh. The trees seemed alive, their skeletal branches swayed faintly, though the air was still. The deeper she ventured, the more uneasy she became. The path seemed to twist and shift as if guiding her somewhere. After what felt like an hour, she stumbled into a clearing. At its center stood a single, gnarled tree, its hollowed trunk dark as an open wound. Something about it drew her in, a strange, magnetic pull. She raised her camera to capture the scene when she heard it. "Help me." The whisper was faint. Like a breath in her ear, she froze, her heart pounding in her chest. It wasn't the sound of an animal, nor did it have the warmth of a human voice. It was hollow, cold, and unnatural. "Hello?" she called out, though her voice trembled. "You shouldn't be here." The whisper came again, sharper this time, and closer. Her breath hissed as a shadow peeled away from the gnarled tree. It was no trick of the light. It moved with purpose, gliding across the ground until it took form. A figure emerged, a gaunt, spectral shape with a face white as bone and eyes that were empty black pits. Its mouth opened wide as it spoke, the words rasping like dead leaves in the wind. "Leave." Lila stumbled backwards, her camera slipping from her hands and hitting the ground with a dull thud. The shadowy figure began to move towards her, its skeletal hands stretching out as if pulling her into the void. Her body screamed at her to run, and finally, she obeyed. She turned and sprinted, crashing through the underbrush, branches clawing at her face and arms. The whispers followed her, growing louder, more frenzied. They weren't words anymore, just overlapping voices screaming and wailing. She dared to glance over her shoulder and saw the shadow gliding after her, moving faster than her panicked steps. The edge of the woods appeared suddenly, a sliver of moonlit safety. She burst through the tree line, collapsing onto the damp grass. The screaming ceased as absurdly as it had started. She turned back, panting, expecting to see the figure looming behind her. But the woods were quiet and still, the tree swaying innocently in the night breeze. Lila stumbled home, leaving her camera behind. The next morning, her shaken curiosity got the better of her. She returned to the grove with a group of locals to search for her lost equipment. They found her camera lying at the base of a hollow tree, the lens cracked but otherwise intact. When Lila flipped through the photos, her blood ran cold. The last image wasn't of the gnarled tree or the clearing. It was of her, mid-sprint, her face twisted in terror. Behind her loomed the shadowy figure, its gaping mouth frozen in a silent wail.